Who should you start for a kicker in defense in week 11? Well, don't worry. SI's fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano is joining me now for insight. Fabs, as you know, who you put into your lineup here can make all the difference in a win or a loss in your fantasy matchup. So who do you like for this week?
And that includes kickers. They are people too. And I like Greg Zuerlein this week. Coming off of a bye, he had two very strong stat lines before the Cowboys were off, and now he's got a really good matchup against Minnesota. No team in the National Football League has given up more fantasy points to kickers than Minnesota, so Greg the Leg is a very nice play in Week 11. And at defense, I'm going with the Dolphins. Now, they've put up a combined 12 fantasy points in their last two games. That's not very good, but they're in a smash spot this week against Denver. They could be without Drew Lock, leaving Brett Rippon as their starting quarterback. And defenses have averaged the most fantasy points while playing against Denver this season. So Miami is a very good play. I could see them being a top 3 defense this week, Kaitlin.
All right, well, you also like Jason Sanders and the Bucs defense who face the Rams on Monday Night Football. But let's talk about who fantasy managers should just stay away from.
Stephen Gostkowski, he has really started to take a nosedive in the stat sheets. If you look at the numbers, he has failed to score more than 7 fantasy points in a game since week 7. And I think that trend is probably going to continue this week against the Ravens. No team in the National Football League has allowed fewer fantasy points to kickers than Baltimore. So Gostkowski needs to be kicked to the waiver wire. And at defense, I'm sitting the Packers. I liked them last week against Jacksonville, and they simply did not get the job done. Now they've got the Colts. The Colts have allowed the fewest sacks, the 3rd fewest QB pressures, and they've committed the 6th fewest giveaways. That's not good for an opposing defense from a fantasy perspective, so Green Bay needs to be on your bench or on the wire.
All right, well, also on the sit-em list is Joey Sly and the Saints defense who take on the Falcons. Babs, thanks so much for your insight. For more insight and, of course, Sports Illustrated's award-winning weekly player rankings, get your membership to SI Fantasy Plus for just $14.99 a month.